which was the actual cost. Now, 3 to 4.8 billion, but not from 6.3 to 2.8 billion, compared to the adjusted budget of 4.8 was now arising to 20% of the reasons that we have explained. Number one, the national anything that has not been paid for at the end of the financial year, as far as national going forward, we believe that with accrual, IPSAS accrual, I will also take care of the commitments so that we have proper reporting of budget vis-a-vis the expenditure. Number two, again, the also for the 2023-2024 was 2.2, anticipated to collect 2.2 billion Kenya shillings, 1.3, so a shortfall of 850 million Kenya shillings. Now, this again becomes one of the root cause for the pending bills for the year under consideration, because usually when you don't collect the amount that you had budgeted for, and the expenditure is assuming everything constant, definitely that gives rise to the pending bills. Now, going to the question of pending bills for the ones we inherited, as at June 2022, we inherited a pending bill of 1.4 billion Kenya shillings, and I want to report here that in the subsequent financial year. Now, in the current financial year, of course, what was paid, the 1.4 was development projects. Now, with the current pending bill that you've asked, we have a pending bill, as per our records, of 1.1 billion Kenya shillings. So far as at February this year, we had reduced it almost to 700. So effectively, what you is almost 400 million Kenya shillings. And this is as at December, because the January, February, and March we have not received. But progressively, once we receive, confident that we are going at least to make pending bills for recurrence. Another question is releases, and then of course the on-source revenue. Now, the other question that you've asked for ECD, why we are spending so much money on our non-core business of bursary, million Kenya shillings, and whatever that we have spent on our core business, ECD, that is infrastructure, and also making sure that we have the capitation and the facilities equipment is around 26 million Kenya shillings. We are alive to the conversation right now, and the advisory from the control of budgets, that indeed counties should focus on the core business, and where we sit, we will be happy for the consolidation of the bursaries with the National Assembly, so that at least that is actually done by one entity. So going forward, we are confident that this function of bursary, we are only going to focus on our vocational training institutions and not paying bursaries for the high school students, because that is really not our core business. Although from our perspective, we were paying the bursaries as social support, not really as our core business, but social support, because as counties, we also have a responsibility to support the needy students who haven't gotten the support. And with the pending bills total, I know there was a question from Prof. What amounts to recurrent total? It's and 60 million Kenya shillings. And largely these are on cleaning services, security services. That was also a question from Senator Kotri. Ambulance services, legal services, and largely those are now arising because of what I said, reduction in the on-source revenue. Because when we commit all these expenses, the assumption is we collect everything. So by failure to collect as per the budget, definitely that arises. So the 260 million represents spending bills for the recurrent. Now, the defunct staff from the local authorities, and the reason why we were singling them out is because these are staff whom we were forced, of course, to inherit, and then they hire salary and wages which are associated with this defunct local authority staff. When you are making the annual increment, because they're already at a very high salary level, and that explains why you cannot attach those salaries. Not that we don't recognize them as Kenyans, but the classification and the fact that we inherited those staff at very high salary levels compared to the salary scales of the current staff, it gives that 47%. Now, in terms of the development, Prof raised that the previous administration, they were doing very well on the development budget, where we had 41%, we had 48%, we had 35%. Now, the biggest challenge that we have is on the development budget. Number one, we have those huge projects which we inherited as per the explanation that you have given. And then we also have the ongoing projects. So you find for the last 2 years, you're spending a lot of time to address the pending bills related to the projects that you have inherited, huge projects. And then you also have the current challenge of balancing on the projects which are ongoing. And then looking at the environment, the fundamentals in terms of physical space have changed. Right now, we have so many non-discretionary expenses, which were not there. You are forced to make a provision for non-discretionary expenses. For example, issues to do with the CB arrears, the housing levies, all those, because of the national legislation, you are forced to take care of them. And this now affects your ability to allocate more money to spend on the projects that you have inherited. However, because of our measure that on page 2, we had a budget of 6.3 billion Kenya shillings. That was at 5%. And the adjusted budget was not 2.8, Senator, but it was 4.8 billion Kenya shillings. I know you are referring to 2.8, which was the actual cost. Now, we adjusted from 6